my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy, sometimes Mouse, and I talk about books and book-related things, and today I am giving you my October wrap-up. October has been a really interesting month because I really only had like 16-ish books planned, and I ended up reading 27 of the 27 total books. I kind of flew through my TBR and then didn't have anything to read by the end of the month. That was odd. I haven't come across that in a while, especially because I'd already planned my CLEARURSHT TBR, and so I was like, what do I read? So yeah, let's get into the stats on this month, this very busy and productive month. For total books read, like I said, I read 27 books. For total pages read, and if you don't know, now you know, I only count the books that I read with my eyes for pages. For total pages read, it was 2,671. For hours listened, it was 170 hours and 18 minutes, which I listen to books between 2 and 3 times speed, so whatever. And that as days is 7 days, 2 hours and 18 minutes. My average rating this month was a 3.4, which is pretty on par with the rest of the year so far. So far, it's almost over. My average pages per day was 147.7, and my average hours listened per day was 5 hours and 19 minutes. I checked out a total of 14 library books. Not that surprising. I predominantly use the library at this point, especially as CLEARURSHT comes about. I feel like it is important to note that I predominantly use the library, and that's how I managed to not own so many unread books. I didn't purchase any books this month. I reread 4 books. Of the books that I read, 18 of them were audiobooks, 8 of them were ebooks, and 1 of them was a physical book. The audiences were 18 adult books, 6 young adult books, and 3 children's or middle grade books. I honestly don't know what middle grade books I read. I was thinking about it and I was like, I know I read a graphic novel, but what are the other ones? And I don't know off the top of my head what it was that I read, but maybe it's too graphic. I don't know. Anyway, for the page counts, I read 1 book that was less than 100 pages, 2 books between 101 and 200 pages, 1 book between 201 and 300 pages, 3 books between 301 and 400 pages, 2 books between 401 and 500 pages. I did not read a lot of like long books this month, it feels like, but this is probably the first month in a while that I had like numbers in all of the counts. Also, if anybody wondered why I include that specifically, it's because a couple of years ago, someone determined that because I read as much as I do, that I must only be reading books that are under 300 pages, and so now I include those stats in my counts. I can now confidently say that I read books that are between 300 and 600 pages predominantly, so that's why I include that, so people can bully me slightly less. That's it. That's all. For the genres, which that part of the book blanket is officially up on the wall, I read 2 sci-fi books, 8 fantasy books, 2 romance books, 6 thrillers, 9 horror, because now's the time, you know? Great. I feel like I'm missing something there, like I feel like that count is slightly off, but I don't know. I don't do math fast enough for that to even matter. Whatever. Anyway, let's talk about my top and bottom books. That's all the stats. That's all that matters. Those are all the stats. They're whatever, you know. I'm honestly ready for this year to be done. Not because I'm like irritated by the year or anything, but I'm just like ready to move into the next year. This year has been really fucking hard, and I think that next year is going to be much better, and so I'm like, let's move it along. Anyway, let's get into my top and bottom books for the month. My top books this month are truly and genuinely the top books. Like, these books were incredible. First was Be the Serpent by Shauna Maguire. This is the, I don't even know, 16th book in the October Day series. I'm looking at the books, that's why I'm saying that. Or like looking over here. I think it's the 16th book in the series. There are now 2 more after this. I've read the 17th, I haven't read the 18th. This book had me like sobbing at 9 o'clock in the morning at my desk while listening to it. I can't get into details as to why chapter 19. That's how much it made an impression on me. but I can't get into the details as to why, because it is the 16th book in a series, but a lot of the foundational beliefs that I have had throughout this series were shook, and all of my suspicions were confirmed, and it just... Shonen does a really fantastic job at writing character arcs and character growth, and this huge, massive book series wherein at least 3 of the characters are consistently throughout the entire series is incredible, and the writing and the ability to storytell like this is incredible. The consumability of these books is incredible. I am like a #1 fangirl of shonen though, so I think that's like well known by now, and I can't emphasize enough how much specifically Be the Serpent is one of my favorite books in the entire series now. I'm very excited for my husband to get to it. He's only on book 4 though, so great. Next is Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh. I did not expect this to be one of my top books this month. Landis recommended it to me, and it's not to say anything to Landis's recommendations. They have fantastic recommendations. It's that political sci-fi fantasy. I just don't tend to love those. They're just never my top books. They're just not. And that's not me like being a hater or anything. They're just not. And it's because usually they're overly complex, or I find the characters intangible, too adult maybe for me, or just too stoic even for me. Some Desperate Glory was amusing and touched on a lot of different topics that are important without me feeling burdened by these topics. Like, I got to hear about them and think about them, but it wasn't like, fuck's sake, dude, like I'm just trying to read a book, not have a political life lesson, which sometimes I feel like sci-fi can do that. It seems like sometimes. So it was just really well done, and I enjoyed it a lot, and I laughed a lot out loud at this book. Yeah, and I just really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic read. And then next is The Spirit Bares Its Teeth by Andrew Joseph White. This is a horror novel, and I've read another book by Andrew Joseph White, and it was equally great, but my brain just blanked. The weather is really messing with my brain a little bit, so I cannot remember. I know what the cover looks like, and that's not helpful, and I'm like, biblically accurate angels, not helpful. The Spirit Bares Its Teeth is a horror fantasy, and it pulls on... It's very Alice in Wonderland-esque of, like, I don't even know how to explain it. But if you've seen some of the horror retellings of Alice in Wonderland, where she is often in a mental health facility, an asylum, it felt very akin to those stories. And there's a video game really specifically that this felt like, but I've never played that video game, so I don't know what it's called, but it is like a horror Alice in Wonderland retelling, if you will. And this heavily reminded me of that, of the lore and plots that I've seen regarding that specifically. I haven't played it, I've just watched videos on it, so that's not helpful. I tried. Anyway, it was really good, and I enjoyed it a lot, so do with that what you will. The worst book of this month was tricky. When isn't it these days? Because I know so intimately what I like to read, it is usually very complicated for me to pick a worst book of the month. This one especially though. That was Jawbone by Monica Ojeda. This book was... like, I enjoyed it, but I didn't, actually, though. I actually read it twice in 2 days, because I frequently was like, did I just not pay attention to this chapter? Like, what's happening here? So I listened to it first, and got like 90% into it, and I was like, I don't fucking know what's going on. And I think that maybe I just wasn't paying attention. So then I went back and read it again with my eyeballs, and I discovered that I was paying attention. I did know what was going on, and no, none of it made sense. The like there were some parts of it that were definitely grounded in a reality that made sense to me, and there were other parts of it that was very much like, yeah, teenage girls fucking suck. Like they're awful for the sake of being awful a lot of the time, to explore feral teenagedom, and I think that that's very much what this conversation being had in this book is about, is the feralness of women, of girls entering into womanhood and still being perceived as both innocent and not at the same, like it's this weird cusp of innocence, and it's almost like you could be anything. And there is this strange part of teenage girls, I feel like, where they just are truly feral during that time, and I recognize that the book was talking about that. And I recognize that the book was talking a lot about that, and then also motherhood and mothering and those topics. And generally, I like books that talk about those things. However, this book was too disjointed to get that story really fully across. There was too many inserts. So you get some from the perspective of the present day character, you get some of the perspective of the teacher in the past, you get some of the therapy from the therapist that the main character has, but you never hear what the therapist had to say, and then you get some it's too disjointed for the story to hold itself up in those conversations. It's too many rambling interludes that distract from the overall conversation. They don't add to any feeling of any unnerving feelings. They don't add to feeling uncomfortable even. They're just like jarring when they come across. You're like, what are we talking about? Which is why by the time I got to the end, I was like, what the fuck is happening? What are we talking about? Huh? What is this essay about? A white whale? I don't understand. So that's, it's tricky because like there were highlightable, quotable worth things, and that message of that feral cusp to womanhood, and the message of like mothers both hating and being jealous of and loving more than life itself their own daughters, those conversations, that I got. I understood, I related to, there was a lot of statements that made sense to me. But the way that it was presented, the execution of those conversations was bad to me. Obviously, to me, it's a subjective opinion. But that's, yeah, I didn't love that. That wasn't my favorite. So yeah, that's my wrap up for October. I feel like I got myself all riled up over the Jawbone thing because I'm still very conflicted about it even being the bottom book, because I'm like, yeah, I guess I liked it, but also I didn't. There you go. But that's the gist of it. That's my wrap up for October. Hopefully you guys read some of the top books, or if you've read Jawbone, tell me how you feel. Because I still don't have all my thoughts in order about them yet, honestly. So, you know, whatever. But if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and share, and let me know in the comments down below. If you didn't enjoy this video, let me know how I can make it better for you, unless it's just my opinion, and then that's subjective, so I'm gonna keep it. That's it though. I post videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, except for the first week of the month. And yeah, don't forget to take your meds, drink your water, and do something today to take care of yourselves. I hope you guys are enjoying Clear Your Shit, because as of posting this, it will be going on. So I hope that you guys are participating and enjoying the story thus far. Alright, that's it. Yeah. Okay, thanks, bye.